All right, everybody, welcome back to IGN Live. We are here with the creators of The Last of Us, and we are still breaking down the wonderful episode 2. Before we go on, Alex, Timothy, and Dawn, how closely did y'all have to collaborate on that Horde scene?
Well, actually, when I'm watching that, all I think about is the literally thousands of meetings we do leading up to it. Like, even when I see that barrel go off, I'm like, we had like 10 meetings about that barrel. And not only did we have 10 meetings about it, but then we did foam barrels and we did lightweight cardboard barrels, and then we wanted to see how they landed. And literally every shot in this almost required 10 to 15 meetings. And Craig loves meetings, so the more we had, the better. But collaborating, I mean, we illustrate everything. It comes to storyboards with Mark. You know, we did a lot of retrofitting of the set, finished a lot of rooftops that we weren't planning to do. And it's all in very close collaboration with Alex, just in terms of where we stop and he takes over, and you know, things that he can finish for us. And you know, we provided as much as we could. It was a really big set, but obviously Alex is involved in every step of it. So.
Yeah, I mean, with planning, for me, this sequence starts with previs. We have to previs the entire thing, and then we have meetings about the previs, and then what goes in there, and what Dawn can build, and special effects. All the HODs get together, and we have discussions about what is best to be done practically, what visual effects should take over, because many times all the time, visual effects when we're shooting, it's something that happens 6 months down the line, right? For me, I have to, in my head, envision what the shot's gonna be down the line and plan for it. We have to shoot it in a way where we're planning for success 6 to 8 months down the line, which is sometimes tricky because things change every day when you're shooting. So it's really communicating with Dawn and special effects, stunts, and everyone, and also just talking to Tim. So as kind of dailies start to come in and being like, what can we do better, and what?
Oh, I'm always coming to him. Every day I say, Alex, what is this, and what's the plan here? And because you know, the bloater's not the bloater. The bloater is a dude with a big green ball on the top of him. So, and you have to say, well, what part of the previs works for this, and how many of these elements do I have to use? And then when we get the animations back, everything has changed because the motion has become that much faster for the bloater as opposed to what the human actor was able to do. So now I have to start recutting everything, and everything goes through Alex. And then and Craig and I will work on everything, and then we will then bring Alex in. There's always the old Alex, come on in.
He loves it when we say that.
Loves it. Alex?
Yeah. Oh, hey, Alex, we have a question for you. And his heart sings because he knows he's about to go over budget again. And, you know, that's the creative process. Going over budget. That's what we do.
So we have got another, let's say, significant scene. Let's take a look at Joel.
What? Really?
Yeah.
Again?
Yeah. You did this. What do you mean again?
I kind of feel like Neil did it. And I just helped bring it back.
I see.
Yeah.
I just help everybody relive the trauma.
Oh, yeah, you really are right there, aren't you? Wow. So let's talk about these golf clubs that we picked out, so there's quite a few meetings. Actually, weirdly, there was, like, I went back and forth. Putter, 9-iron, 8. I swear to God, it was a whole discussion. How good is Caitlin Demas, by the way?
Stupid. Old man.
Oh, jeez. Really?
You don't get to rush this.
This is me right there. That's me. Oh, boy. Oh, jeez. So there you're looking at prosthetics blended with visual effects, and also just incredible performances from Pedro and from Caitlin. All this takes place in a location we actually found, so we didn't build this. We found this place, which I kind of loved because I just remember how I felt in the game in that space. Yeah, and then Bella. Well, This is a great panel.
So I do actually have a specific question about Abby and Ellie here. Obviously, the audience learned about Abby's motivations in the premiere, but with Abby's monologue in this moment, was there ever a moment where you considered leaving Ellie in the dark as to why Abby did what she did?
Well, we do, in a way, because Ellie doesn't hear any of that monologue. When Ellie shows up, I don't believe Abby has any dialogue from that point forward. But there's somebody else that fills her in.
Yeah.
So Nora is the one that kind of connects all the dots for her. Of course, that's when we also find out that Ellie knew more than we thought she did. But that kind of confusion state, I think, was important to maintain, because I actually didn't want Ellie taking in any information. I remember in the game, there's no information to take in other than Joel. That's it. That's all that matters is Joel. And then once he's dead, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you all. You're all going to fudging die. They've started to die already. I don't know if you've noticed. It's happening.
What do y'all say that we lighten things up a bit?
Oh, thank you. Cool.
All right, we are heading on to episode 6, where
I
we
thought you were going to
go
be like,
from
Ellie's beating Nora up.
all
Let's
of
go
the
on.
trauma to all of the joy.
Let's lighten it up, please. Aww.
Oh my god. It is a dinosaur! Joel!
Like it? Yep. Likes it.
I love this moment in the game. I love that we got to do it.
Whoa. Whoa, whoa.
Just pure
Ellie.
joy.
Ellie.
Don and his team built this dinosaur,
Oh my God.
and then it was like wobbling a little too
Careful.
much. So then Alex made it stop wobbling, but then it looked fake, so we had to make it wobble a little bit. It's really difficult. And just the joy. So great.
Speaking of joy, for everybody in the room and everybody on this stage, do you guys want to yell, "I'm on a motherfucking dinosaur" together? All right, ready? On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. I feel so much better. So this is going to keep rolling. So I want to start with Anne. You know, the spacesuits that we see coming up are such an iconic moment in the game. How do you put your own spin on something everybody knows already?
Well, I didn't really have a lot to do with those spacesuits. That was Dawn and the art department, I believe.
It was set deck found.
Yeah, we found those here in Los Angeles, actually, at Global Effects, who have wonderful reproductions of spacesuits. But for me, honestly, it was more about the t-shirt. Because this was the t-shirt that Ellie wears in the game, but in the game it was a tank top, and then Craig and Neil and I talked about it, you know, changing it from that tank to a tee because we could make it baggier and make her look younger. I felt like the tank top made her look more adult. But we screen printed that t-shirt based off the art right from the game and did it identically, and it was one of my favorite moments of this episode.
Look at this. This is Ksenia at work right here. So Ellie comes out of dark into light. And then this is editing as well, because we don't see what she sees until she sees it. We let her see it first. And then we reveal that space capsule, and this is one of those moments, Ksenia, where you can talk about taking something that was so beautiful in the game, but in reality, you have to do it differently or it won't work.
Right. Yeah, it is very, I mean, the show has such a grounded look overall, and, you know, with all the handheld camera and trying to light it, in a way, very natural and very close to reality, and having this very special sequence, which gets us into, you know, this beautiful feeling of, you know, child's imagination is very special, and the way it was done in the game was already so brilliant when you just sit in her close-up and you just watch this whole lighting transformation together with music, together with this, the space capsule shaking was absolutely incredible. And, it's interesting because for sure we had a very beautiful, I call it like the most expensive previs I ever worked with. The piece from the game when you already, you can see the dynamic of the lighting, you can see like the lighting pattern. But what was very interesting, while we were talking with Neil about this scene, we kind of started to explore different angles too, and you can see the difference from the game for the particular like space capsule sequence, that now it has this profile shot, which was working so nicely for like watching her smile and for interactive lighting. Suddenly it was giving slightly more, magic to this moment. But weirdly and funny enough, my favorite moment is when we come back to the reality and suddenly it gets so warm and you see his face and it's so sweet and like so full of love, and yeah, it's very touching.
That is the perfect segue into our next question. For Dawn, Ksenia, and Anne, what struck the three of you most while tangibly crafting these beautiful, beautiful moments?
Well, I would just say throughout the whole season, there's certain things that we want to be, that are done so well in the game that we want to be, as true to them as possible. And this whole set is really one of those things. And this capsule and matching the lighting, and, we went, it's a tricky set to build because you have to pull it apart so that they can get all these different angles. So again, it was a ton of R&D getting this. We 3D printed a small version of it, and then we built a foam version of it and tested it again and figured out how to light it properly. And so, it's these moments that the ones we sort of choose to be as close to the game as possible. And there's a reason for that. It's because they're done so well in the game, so there's no point to reinvent them.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, basically, Joel and Ellie are in the same exact things that they're wearing in the game, because why change it? It's kind of perfect.
Look at this.
Yeah, look at this.
So Ksenia did this practically, which I love.
Yeah, it was all, and that was like the most exciting part for us too, to make it, because, all together with like, the helmet glass you're getting, all the reflections, all the light interacting with the environment. And as Don mentioned, there were so many stages of testing and finding the right rhythm, particular, like the lighting on the cranes, a lot of LED lighting, like programming, this whole sequence. And frankly speaking, the whole sequence is lit through this teeny tiny window on the side of the capsule, which is also it was very challenging to find this particular look. And especially, again, when you have like such an amazing reference, it's very hard to kind of come close. But I am obsessed with this when you come back. And it's like so sweet. Oh my God. All the time I watch him kind of slightly.
This is the
small tears coming.
Yeah. This is the first thing that Neil ever showed me from the second game. I think it was the first time I went over to Naughty Dog to talk about planning season 1. And they were still, they were getting close on the second game, but they were still in process. And he was like, hey, you want to show something? And he showed me that sequence. And I was like, we're doing that. And in my mind, I'm like, we need to actually do a pretty good job on season 1 so that we can get renewed, so that we can do that in season 2. And I have like a number of things that I'm like, we have to actually do a pretty good job on season 2 so we can come back, because there's things in season 3. I'm like, well, we got to do that. I can't wait to do that. I can't wait to do it with all of you. Oh, Don, are we going to have meetings? Woo! Buddy, the meetings? Can't wait.
For all of you, obviously this was a very difficult season to craft for numerous reasons. What was the hardest part of creating season 2?
I'll go first. I would say while we were doing episode 2 and having multiple units of my team in Northern Alberta and then in Vancouver also doing Jackson, that's when I started the Seraphite build. So at that point, I'm running a crew, costume team of about 65 people in 3 different areas, and you become a project manager, and just trying to keep multiple plates in the air and making sure it's all going smoothly, but it worked out really well.
I have a very unexpected answer. There's like this very small scene in episode 6 when they're in the star hallway, like the dark hallway. I think this was like the most testing I've done on the whole season. Like the amount of like, should we try crystals? Should we try like silver, like sequins? That was overwhelming. It took like a few weeks and maybe like the most, weirdly like the hardest thing to find overall together for me this season.
I think for me, creating a Horde was the hardest because I think we damn nearly broke Weta, if you can believe it. In any kind of crowd system, you typically want to try to have repetition as your friend. If you have a crowd with an army, they're either wearing uniforms or the same armor, so your repetition is okay. But for our Horde, Craig wanted the Horde for us to believe like they were civilians. They used to be people. So we have people that are bigger, smaller, thinner, teenagers, kids. Repetition is something that we did not want, right? So we have to figure out new ways of breaking that ceiling. And also, when it comes to motion, Craig's very good at saying repetition. And so trying to break that meant, any sort of, I think the really thing that you can tell that you're running cycles is when the infected don't touch each other. So we needed a lot of interaction between hordes. So all those systems Weta created new for our show, right? So it was that was definitely the hardest.
I would have to say, for me, it was the death of Joel scene. That was the hardest thing to do, by far. I actually edited it 5 times before I was ready to even show it to the director, because Bella Ramsey gives one of the most unbelievable performances. I still hear all of the takes, and they just did an unbelievable job. And to craft it with Craig in such a way that it changes, and there's a dynamic, and there's a shift to how Ellie is trying to stop what's happening. Being able to find exactly the moment when we, for the first time, decided to show the violence from the point of view of the character, which we'd never done before. So that was the hardest thing to do, and for sure it was absolutely worth it.
I think for me it's just sheer volume and pace of scenery. I mean, it's fairly unrelenting. We're building, and similar to Anne, like I'm dealing with sort of 4 episodes at once. We're with the shooting episode, the prepping episode with the new director, scouting for, before the 3rd episode director arrives, and then designing sets that need to be built in time. So it's pretty all-encompassing, and we tend to build a lot. And so it's hard to keep that machine going, honestly. The volume of scenery we churn through on a weekly basis is astounding. So it's challenging in that way for sure.
I've already talked about episode 2 being a challenge, but I think in general, some of my challenge is how to keep the action, especially the action set pieces, feeling not generic and honor, Gustavo's approach to the game, which, one of the amazing things about his work is how he embraces negative space, and there's a lot of silence. And sometimes in a scene where, they're fighting the infected, you can't always find those moments, but the trick is to try to find something that feels custom fit to our show and that can sit next to Gustavo's work and doesn't feel like all of a sudden it just drops into a regular action show. So keeping that kind of unique is always a challenge that's fun.
Guys, 30 minutes just flies by on these panels. Audience, I'm gonna need you to give me one more I'm on a motherfucking dinosaur. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. I'm on a motherfucking dinosaur! All right, thank you so much to the incredible creators of The Last of Us. Thank you all for joining us. Everybody give these fine folks one final round of applause.